he's been doing 30 years of leadership mindset coaching.
This is the reason I can't focus.
Yeah.
We're externalizing it.
And the distractions become a lot easier to sift and sort because you know where you're going, you know why you're doing it.
When you have clear-minded focus, it helps you to eliminate the possibility of even wanting to look elsewhere.
I got there, but now I'm working 60 hours. I really want it to be 30. And constantly there's a reason to like delay this happiness.
You would find a guy that was so focused and so driven on the next hill. And it doesn't matter that we just accomplished that. I'm looking at the next hill. Yeah. I'm looking at the next hill. I'm looking at the next hill. And when do you stop?
All right. Welcome back, my amazing, beautiful, coolest agency owner motherfuckers in the galaxy that you guys are. We're going to be talking about something awesome. This is William Attaway, just so that you guys don't know, besides being a doctor, what's really, really important to you guys, he's been doing 30 years of leadership mindset coaching, and about half of his clients are in the digital marketing space, us guys, the real leaders and movers and shakers, and he's the guy who helps them get right between the ears, because if you can't get you right, you're probably not going to get your business right. Anyways, my man, first of all, let me give you the grand welcome and say thanks for coming on here and doing this.
Frankie, thanks so much for inviting me, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So you and I were sitting on a boat on the ocean together, and we were talking about something that is really, really deep, which is distractions, which in our world, there's pop-up messages, there are 75 different social media apps that you're supposed to stay on top of, there's emails, and often, like, some of our folks got 37 different emails. I haven't met an internet marketer who doesn't have at least 15 tabs open at any given time in their browser. And we were talking distraction, and you said something really, really interesting that I wanted to go deeper on today. You said the biggest distraction folks have is not this, but this between the ears. I wonder if you could elaborate on what you meant for that for the folks listening to this, because I think it's something we all struggle with in this space. It's like there's a new shiny object just like every 3 seconds.
I think the easiest thing in the world for us when we have a problem or a challenge is to want to externalize it and want to point a finger somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because of that. It's because, this is the reason I can't focus.
Yeah.
We're externalizing it. We're pointing outside of ourselves. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. And I'm not saying that your phone and the notifications and the dings and your browser and the tabs and all that is not distracting, because it is. I just don't think it's your biggest distraction. I think your biggest distraction is between your ears, like you said. And the reason I say that is because it's rooted in your mindset. This is something that I have been talking with leaders about for a while. Think about mindset as like soil. Okay. So from that soil of your mindset grows every thought that you will have, every feeling that you experience, every word that you speak, and every action that you do. All of that grows out of that soil. Okay. That soil is made up of 3 components: what you believe about yourself, what you believe about other people, and what you believe about the world around you.
Yeah.
If any one of those 3 is messed up, it's going to trickle down.
Yeah.
It's going to affect your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions. And this is where distraction comes in. Because if one of those is not healthy, that means we don't have a clarity there. We don't have a clarity around who we are. What does a healthy version of Frankie look like? What does a healthy version of your view of other people look like? What does a healthy view of the world around you look like? If that's not set, then that's going to yield all manner of distractions. All of a sudden now, you're going to be looking for solutions to those core problems at the subconscious level. You're going to be looking for solutions externally.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if I just get this app that'll solve this. If I just hire this person, that'll solve this, right? This will help me focus. And just hire this person. That'll solve the problem with the organization, with the company. If I just get a better client, that'll solve. You're dealing with the symptoms. I want to deal with the root. I want to deal with the soil.
Yeah.
Because when we get that right, then all of a sudden you understand that you have the power. You're in the driver's seat to achieve clear-minded focus.
Yeah, you said a magic word in there, which is called clarity. And I find, I think clarity to me is kind of a spectrum. At times you feel like, at least for me as an entrepreneur, like super clear. And there's other times where it's, clear as mud. But, one of the things I've noticed about when you're in states of clarity, and you know what you want, it becomes very, very easy to filter. Does this move me closer to it? Does it not? And,
That's
and
right.
then the distractions become a lot easier to sift and sort because you know where you're going, you know why you're doing it. A lot of times when you're not in clarity, at least for me, and I'm not throwing stones at anybody, but I'm sure you guys can relate to this. It's like every little distraction, you're just almost looking for a reason to be distracted where you're like, I wonder what they're saying about me on the internet. I wonder what's going on over here. I wonder what my buddy over there is up to. I wonder if there's any funny memes over on Instagram. I wonder if there's a new video on that channel I watch. And all of those things, like you said, are the symptom levels. So I wonder if you talk a little bit about kind of like how you help people normally to get to those clear states so we can be these kind of proactive leaders, especially because in our world, like often a lot of people depend on our leadership. Employees depend on us to get paid. Clients depend on us to deliver results. At the end of the day, the results we deliver have a trickle down effect because our clients are affected by what we do. And if you're not in clarity, you're probably not moving super efficient. And I also find tasks that should take 2 minutes end up taking 2 hours. Like they seem to stretch out in time when you're not super clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about you've helped a lot of people to get a lot of clarity, kind of like what that looks like.
I believe clarity is kindness. It is kind when you are clear with your team members. We know this, right? When you're ambiguous and you're fuzzy with a team member about what you want from them, that's not kind. They don't think it's kind. And at a root, when you realize that you don't either, you know that clarity is a way of being kind. Clarity is kindness with your spouse if you're married, right? Like this idea that you want clarity there. You don't want ambiguity. You don't want there to be any confusion. You want clarity because clarity is kindness. Clarity is kindness with yourself, Frankie. When you have clarity, you are being the kindest version of yourself to yourself. Most people are not kind to themselves.
No. And you can tell a lot about how they, just actions they take, that the inner dialogue must be pretty negative, set to negative FM most of the day.
And this is true, by the way, for all of us. This is something that I've had to wrestle through and struggle with.
Yeah.
I say that like it's past tense. It's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
I had a counselor tell me one time, this is probably a decade ago. She said, if you talk to other people the way you talk to yourself, you would have no friends.
Ain't that the truth right there, right?
Right? And it's so spot on. And you know what I found is that I'm not alone. We all do that. All of us talk to ourselves in unhealthy ways, but we don't have to. When you have clear-minded focus, it helps you to eliminate the possibility of even wanting to look elsewhere. When you understand who's the best version of Frankie, what does it look like for you to live your healthiest, most sustainable self? What does that look like? You begin to flesh that out, and this is the work I do with clients together. You begin to flesh that out. You begin to get a better understanding of yourself, and your self-awareness grows. Your ability to focus increases with that. As you gain the ability to focus, all of a sudden, you're not as apt to look around and want to see what they're saying about you on the internet. Why? Because you're focused. You know what you want. You know what you want most. You know what the best version of you is, and that's what you're pursuing relentlessly.
Yeah.
That focus is what leads to success.
Yeah. Amen to that. And, we were talking about this off air. I said, in some ways, we have, to me, the most beautiful business model in the world. It's you can do it from anywhere in the world. You have ultimate autonomous flexibility. The flip side of that is, I was joking earlier, but it's really true to me, is that, in some ways, plumbers have it easy because, there isn't an innovation in plumbing every 6 seconds where check out this, and there's no hypey copy about the latest plumbing thing. And therefore, if you're a plumber, for the most part, what you're building for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And so it's in many ways, it's an easier business model to focus. And in our business model, well, there's a new software every 10 seconds. So maybe I should start a Go high level SaaS, or maybe I should do the AI chat bots, or maybe I'm going to start a TikTok agency, or maybe I'm going to make AI faceless videos, or, maybe I'm going to do this consulting thing, or maybe I'm going to switch to a coaching offer. And I find for a lot of people, because there's so many distractions and allowing themselves to kind of give into those, they can't focus on one thing over a period of time. And ergo, the side effect of that is you never get momentum in any one thing, as you're constantly starting over every like 2-3 months. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about like how you see that. And then the flip side of that is, like when you own this kind of like leadership side of yourself, how you learn to like, ultimately like what focus really looks like. Because I think a lot of people think focus is like you're this laser like Jedi. In reality, it's more like a lot of riding a bike where you fall down and just keep picking yourself back up. It's not like this, super disciplined Miyagi where you never falter. It's more just like you recognize, oh shit, I'm veering down the highway again. Let's turn back and get back on the road we were trying to do. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think you just keyed in on a very key point to this, right? It is not that Zen-like state, right? There are some people who have the ability to focus at that level. And that's amazing and fantastic. Most entrepreneurs would not fall into that bucket.
Yeah.
It's not how we're wired, right? And so we have to understand what it looks like for us. And in this way, what you just said is a much better analogy. We're riding the bike and we fall. And start to get up. No. And you reset.
Yeah.
Up and you reset. Up and you reset. And that is the key. It's recognizing, that's the self-awareness, recognizing it, calling it out, and having the tools to be able to reset because you have a focal point. It's like your GPS. Your GPS determines your focal point. Okay. And it's going to take you there. It's going to get you there like the best way possible.
Yeah.
This is what focus does, but you have to set the GPS coordinates first. And this is where most people have trouble. Clear-minded focus for me is 2 data points. First, where are you? Agency owners, this is something that I have watched a lot of people struggle with. They do not want to be honest about where they actually are.
Yeah.
What are your numbers? Right? And I'm not just talking about your revenue.
Yeah. Can I just say on that, as somebody, I actually struggled with this for a decade, where for me, how that showed up is whenever I would hit a goal, I just had a new and bigger one. And so I was always working towards something. And so I never really felt like I was at the goal. Even when I got to a goal, like a new, bigger goal appeared. And so as a result of it, for 10 years, I did not like looking at my bank account because I always felt inadequate looking at it. And so I was incapable of just like looking at my real numbers of like, this is how you're doing in the game of business in terms of, profits and losses and things like that. And like you said, like there's a tendency to want to sugarcoat that and bullshit and talk about like, we're doing this, we're working on that, and talk about all the things you're excited about instead of just being real about the snapshot. And ultimately what you realize when you begin to face it, it's just data. It's just numbers.
Yes.
Like, it can't tell you who you are or what it's just data. It's like it doesn't mean, in the same way that like if somebody's, say trying to lose weight, well, day one when you step on the scale just tells you what your starting point is, but it doesn't tell you who you are as a person and your, whether you're worthy of love or any of those things. It's like literally just a number as a starting point towards what you're working towards. But anyways, I just wanted to share that because I think a lot of people struggle with just being real about this is how it's going in actual reality.
100%. That is a huge struggle that I see, that I work with people on, because they can't define that first data point. Where are you? Leaders define reality as it is, not as they wish it were.
Yeah.
Max Dupree said that many decades ago, and it's still true. What is it? We define that data point first. Then we define the second data point. Where do you want to be? You would think that's pretty easy for most people.
Yeah.
I find it's not.
Yeah, especially because a lot of times it's arbitrary. It's someone else's goal. I want to get to 100K.
Yes.
I want to get to 300K.
Yes.
Not really what they really want as a person. It's just an arbitrary number they're shooting for.
Right. And if it's not a number, it's something like, I want to drive this car. I want this house. I want this vacation. I want this lifestyle. Okay, that can be a piece of it.
Guys, you and I,
yeah, right. Clearly, right. I mean, like this is the problem. we're not dialing in where do we want to be. We're dialing in pieces of where we want to be.
Yeah.
I want to paint that picture with as many colors and brushes as we can.
Yeah.
Because then we have clarity. If you know where you are and you know where you want to go, and there is clarity around those two data points, all that's left is building a bridge from here to there.
Yeah.
And I say all the time, that's the easiest part. The hardest part is clarifying those 2 points.
Yeah.
The focus that it takes to build the bridge is important. And that's a piece of what we do.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to help you do that. But you got to do the hard work to get those 2 data points clarified.
Yeah.
When I studied Korean Taekwondo, right, for about almost a decade. And one of the things that I learned was that if I just focused on this, for a month, this one kick or this one punch or this one form, if I just focused on that for a month and then I moved on to something else and didn't focus on that anymore, what happened to that form? What happened to that kick or that punch? It degraded over time. It didn't get better.
Yeah.
It didn't stay the same. It degraded. This is true with everything we do in business. If you are constantly just hopping from kick to punch to kick to form to kick to punch to form, you're never going to get great at anything. That's not focus. This is, again, the enemy of excellence.
Yeah.
We drift into mediocrity. We never drift into excellence.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah, you said some really good things there, because I like when I'm thinking about like when you define those 2 data points using the GPS analogy, like sometimes there's going to be road construction and you got to go around. When you're focused and know what you want, like you don't have this giant reaction to the obstacles. You just find a new way around where you're trying to get. And I was thinking about it, like most of the agency owners that I talk to, they have goals, but they're not like super defined. It's usually just a monetary number. And a lot, like it's a piece of the puzzle. And I think of like, may even be watching this, my dear friend Rob, who's probably the most successful real life entrepreneur I know. Rob's company's, like I think north of like 200 million these days. I don't know. He's doing all right. And I remember when we talked about goals and we were sitting down and just kind of like sharing life dreams, it wasn't just the money he could tell me he was working towards. He had a very clear number, but he said things like, for example, he said, I tried letting other people to run the business 100%. And I found as an entrepreneur, I just got bored sitting at home. So I realized that I needed to work. And then I tried working like 18 hours a day. And I realized that was way too much work. And it was just this all encompassing thing. And he said, I realized after doing it, like that the sweet spot for me is I love to work 2 to 4 hours a day, because then I feel involved, but also at the same time, I'm not all encompassingly defined by it. And what I really like to do is just share the vision with my team, what we're building, and then help them answer questions and figure out details along the way. And so he also said to me, and I also noticed I have my most energy in the morning. So I love to do that 2 to 4 hours of focused work in the morning, because that's when I work best. And if there's any sort of like mundane remedial, bookkeeping or whatever that needs to be updated, or can you get us a login? I like to do that at night when I'm low energy. And so what really surprised me is that how much he had optimized his life around his energy and how he wanted to work. And I thought about it and I was like, man, this guy's going to hit his goals. And he could tell me, I wanted a home base here. I want a wife that's like, of this criteria, which I'm pretty sure he's met, although they're not like married. But it looks like it's heading that direction. And, I want to travel to these destinations. And because he had like, it's just so many more of the pieces, I was like, he's going to do it. And when I compare that to somebody who's like, I need to get to 100K, and then they can't even tell me how many clients at their current income rate they would need to get there. Like, I just know it's like you said, it's a kind of halfway formed GPS of like, we're going to go into the city. Well, where in the city? What? Right. For how long? Between what hours? It's like the pieces along there are missing. And I love that you said that, because I feel like a lot of times people think because they have a goal, they got a GPS, and it's really not. It's just really not.
That's such a great analogy. I live about an hour west of DC, right? If you say, I'm going to go to DC, but you don't know exactly where you want to go, good luck, man. Good luck, because you're going to get lost. Right. Yeah. There's too many streets. There's too many people. There's too much traffic. There's too many obstacles. Yeah. If you don't have clarity around exactly where you want to go, oh, sorry, that road's closed today.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that bridge has been shut down. Oh, sorry, there's a wreck there.
Yeah.
The
And-
obstacles are part of life.
Yeah.
You got to
And
deal
other
with that.
people with their own agendas. Like, you want to try a free sample of this? Would you like to join that? Like, there's a lot of people like trying to pull you into their thing if you're
That's
sort
it.
of drifting, you know, as you put it.
Yeah, you're never ever going to drift to excellence. And every entrepreneur I have met wants excellence. That's
Yeah.
what they want for their life. That's what they want for their business. They're just not getting there.
Yeah.
Most of them are not getting there because they're distracted.
Yeah. Can we talk about something a little bit deeper? One of the things that became abundantly clear just hanging out with you in person is that you're a happy dude. And I don't think enough people in this entrepreneurship journey actually are happy. And I can tell you, for me personally, you know, one of the side effects of always like perpetually setting bigger goals is I never actually appreciated any of the accomplishments I did. And I it was only, you know, recently that it made sense of that. But I was reading The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And they were talking about that your goal in a lot of ways is like chasing the horizon. It points you towards where you're going. But even when you get there, there's a new goal. And so like the permanent goal that you're aiming for is like the horizon where you never really reach it. And as a result, if you don't look out the rearview mirror and go like, look how far we've come already, that you can be pretty miserable. And I noticed that a lot of people in our world, because we're like constantly forward facing, like you're always working towards something, that they will constantly like demean and belittle the things they've done and the things they've accomplished or accomplished. You know, hey, I got to 20K, but I really want to be at 50. So I'm like, I haven't done shit. I got to 50, but I really want to be at 100. I got to 100, but I really want to be 220. Or I got there, but now I'm working 60 hours. I really want it to be 30. And constantly there's a reason to like delay this happiness. And you don't have that, at least from what I can tell. Like you've learned to be happy now, but also, you know, you're a leader, you're working towards stuff. You're not just like, you know, I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about how you kind of like juxtapose those two things, where being happy now, but also like having a GPS where you're working towards something, and not having those be separate things where like, because I just like, for me, I just look at it. I just told myself a story for a lot of years. I'll be happy when I get to blank. And that just ain't ever true. Just so you guys know, you ain't gonna be any happier when you get there. Often what you'll find is it's actually the opposite, is it feels very deflating, because you know, you get to the big income goal and now all of a sudden you got more work and more responsibilities, and nobody high fives you on the street. Nobody says, hey, you did it, right? Like nobody, you don't get any sort of award. It's like it's a none of your friends and family think you're any cooler for what you did, and you had this win in secret, and ultimately you were hoping it would change you on the inside, and it doesn't. But you know, I'm sure you've dealt with this kind of thing, dealing with a lot of leaders over the year, and I'd love to just hear your thoughts on like, how do we actually be happy on this journey and get what we want?
Not only have I dealt with it with other people, I've dealt with it with myself.
Yeah.
If you were to talk to me 20 years ago, you would find a guy that was so focused and so driven on the next hill. And it doesn't matter that we just accomplished that. I'm looking at the next hill. Yeah. I'm looking at the next hill. I'm looking at the next hill. And when do you stop? Where do you stop? Part of being a leader is that you are seeing other things. Like Maxwell says, you're seeing things before other people see them, right? You see before other people see, and you see more than they see. And you want to take that next hill. You're ready to go. That's part of leadership. But you have to hold that in tension. And this is a tension to be managed, not a tension to be resolved. You have to hold that drive, that bias for action in tension with gratitude. And so this is how I do this. And I'll recommend this to every one of your listeners, because I think this is a habit that will benefit you for the rest of your life if you implement it. It's what I call a wins journal. It's really simple. Every week when I do my weekly review, which is part of the GTD system that I adopted almost 20 years ago, that really has enabled me to do everything that I do. The GTD system involves a weekly review. Once a week, for me, it's on Sunday evenings. I sit down and I look back at the last 7 days. And I ask 3 questions. I look at the meetings I was in, the conversations that I had, what I accomplished, my lists, all of this. And I look back and I ask 3 questions. What went right? What can I celebrate? And I write it down in the wins journal. I write down the wins. Now, the temptation is that you're going to like hear this voice in your head saying, "Oh, that's not big enough. You can't celebrate that. Oh, that doesn't count.
Yeah, it's
That's
never
not
big enough, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. You need to fire that guy in your head. You need to fire that guy because you are the arbiter of what counts.
Yeah.
And a win counts. I don't care how big or how small it is, you write it down. Okay. First thing, what went right? What can I celebrate? You focus on what you want more of. I want more wins personally.
Yeah.
So I start there. Then you move on to what went wrong. What were the misses? That's part of it. How would I do it different next time? And you process through the learning. I start with wins for two reasons. One, I want to train my brain to focus on wins. I want to train that. That's a weekly training for me.
1000%.
Two, I'm building a knowledge base. And what this is something that's going to be really helpful on those days when you struggle. When you wonder, am I doing any good? Is this making a difference? How do and you start to like get down in the dumps. Everybody deals with that. Every entrepreneur I've ever met has those days.
Yeah.
What you do, and here's what I say, in those moments, say, you know what? This is valid. This is how I feel. That's real. But what does the data say? And you pull out that wins journal. And I've got years worth of wins. And I'm going to start reading. And you know what that does? In your brain, it changes your brain chemistry. Because you actually start to re-celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah. Oh, I completely forgot about that. We have no problem remembering things we did wrong 20 years ago. We have no problem remembering our failures.
Yeah.
But we are awful at remembering our wins. What the wins journal does is it gives you a data source that you have access to that you can pull out. That's how I feel. That's valid. That's real. But what does the data say? You go through a page or two of that, you're going to be ready to take on the world again.
Yeah.
Because your mind shifted.
Yeah. I think too, psychologically, it trains you to actually feel like a winner. Cause I feel like a lot of entrepreneurship is trying shit and quote unquote failing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of iterations that don't work. And it's very easy to just feel like you're never winning. And I actually remember reading Ray Dalio saying that one of his goals was, I knew most of the journey is in the struggle. So I wanted to struggle well. And I'm a big fan in what you talk about because I keep a gratitude journal and look at the wins. And I remember actually for a lot of people too, by the way, just so you guys know, like this is just me talking personally. This is not should advice. I spend like 10, 15 minutes a day on this stuff. So I don't want to have one of those 4-hour morning routines where it's just to me like avoidance of work, but getting my mind right to be able to do the work is really, really important. So I make time intentionally to kind of write this stuff down. And I know like in our gratitude journal, how this shows up is we got 2 cars where we live, and the second car is like our beach car. It's just, like a used kind of beater car, and it totally shit the bed and the engine died. And this was, a couple weeks ago. And I remember like Ilka was, understandably upset, especially too, because like, where we live, it's not that easy to just go to a mechanic. I'm in Mexico, right? So it's like, like just replacing it and fixing it. It's like, you already know you just signed up for hassles and headaches and shit you got to deal with. And like, it's not like you can call a tow truck company and communicating with these people, like it just wastes time. And so she was like understandably upset. And after like an hour or two, she was still in that place. And for me, I had just reviewed my gratitude journal like 5 minutes before. And so I was not in that place at all. And she was like, don't you feel like this is just total bullshit? And I was like, and it'd be very, very easy to go into that place. And I was like, well, Ilka, we live in paradise. It's sunny 360 days a year. We got a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house. We got a cool network of people. We got a giant ass fridge full of food. Our kids are healthy. We got chickens that like lay fresh eggs every day. We got a swimming pool. We don't even have to clean it because a guy comes and cleans it up for us. We got a whole other car that works. It's got a tank full of gas. Like I promise you, growing up, if I told you these were my problems, like I would have been okay with it. And then she was kind of like, and it even had a almost an effect on her where she's like, yeah, that's right. Like we kind of are already winning at life. Like, our car sucks and this is a hassle, but like there's a lot of good thing happening. And like you said, if I didn't write that shit down, there's no way I would remember any of that. Like there's just like I'd be way caught up in the fucking car. Is nowhere. When's this guy gonna fix it, right? And it's very easy to go to those places. So I'm a big believer in what you just described. Like write down your wins, write down reasons you're grateful now, And those things will expand. Like at least for me, I don't know how you feel, but like in the beginning, it's like work. Like I'm working to find even one thing I'm grateful for, two things, but eventually it starts to flow and it becomes real. It becomes like I'm actually feeling grateful. And I think a lot of people think you're just supposed to always feel like a winner and you're all zen and grateful, but like you literally have to train your mind to go to those places. Like it is not like
Yes.
I don't know. To me, it's not like that does not happen organically. Like it's our
No.
society is negativity, war. Like you just turn into the news for 5 seconds. This person was killed. This place got burned down. These people now here's Chuck with the
Yes.
weather, right? Like that's what most people are on for a mental diet. So like you have to work to train your mind to go the other direction. So I love that you shared that with us. Just because I want to be super respectful of your time, I feel like, dude, like I can hang out with you and talk like for decades and not get bored. But let's talk for folks who are interested in you. Share some resources, how to get in contact with you, how to learn more about you, any of that good stuff, and I'll put some links for you guys so that you don't have to remember these and can just click on them.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, man. If you want to know more about me and the coaching that I do for my clients, you can go to catalyticleadership.net. That's the home base. You can see the podcast that I host there called Catalytic Leadership, where I interview entrepreneurs and glean from their stories to help you in yours.
Yeah.
You can also find out about the books that I've written. I'm releasing my third one next year in January. But the last one that came out was called Catalytic Leadership. And it's the principles, the consistent principles that I see in the clients that I've been coaching now for almost 30 years. And I put that into a book form so that you can benefit from that. So you can find more information on that. And I'd love to gift a free copy of that book to any of your listeners at catalyticleadershipbook.com.
Cool.
All you got to do is pay the shipping and I'll get a signed copy right to your door.
Signed, guys. Like I'm just so you guys know, I'm not as cool as he is. You ain't getting signed books from me, but I'll say
That's awesome.
Anyways, William, we appreciate you coming on here and doing this. You are a true blessing, and this is something as I said to you, I feel very passionate about because it's needed in our space. There's a lot of talk of tactics and stuff like that, not enough talk really about the strategies behind the tactics, and even and less so about like what do you need to be between the ears to actually win at this game long term. Because I'll tell you, it's a long, lonely road being an entrepreneur, and if you don't get you between the ears right, like it's even harder. It's hard enough for all that. So, like listen to what
so true.
Anyway,
it's so true, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. I've so enjoyed this. Yeah. I could keep talking with you for another decade. This is great.
Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US. How to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.